is: a company is using AWS Code Deploy to manage its application deployments. Recently, the development team decided to use GitHub for version control, and the team is looking for ways to integrate the GitHub repository with Code Deploy. The team also needs to develop a way to automate deployment whenever there is a new commit on that repository. The team is currently deploying new application revisions by manually indicating the Amazon S3 location. How can the integration be achieved in the most efficient way? A. Create a GitHub webhook to replicate the repository to AWS code commit. Create an AWS code pipeline that uses code commit as a source provider and AWS code deploy as a deployment provider. Once configured, commit a change to the GitHub repository to start the first deployment. B. Create an AWS code pipeline that uses GitHub as a source provider and AWS code deploy as a deployment provider. Connect this new pipeline with the GitHub account and instruct code pipeline to use webhooks in GitHub to automatically start the pipeline when a change occurs. C. Create an AWS Lambda function to check periodically if there has been a new commit within the GitHub repository. If a new commit is found, trigger a Create Deployment API call to AWS Code Deploy to start a new deployment based on the last commit ID within the deployment group. D. Create an AWS Code Deploy custom deployment configuration to associate the GitHub repository with the deployment group. During the association process, authenticate the deployment group with GitHub to obtain the GitHub Security Authentication token. Configure the deployment group options to automatically deploy if a new commit is found. Perform a new commit to the GitHub repository to trigger the first deployment. Correct answer is B. Next question is: a DevOps engineer must implement monitoring for a workload running on Amazon EC2 and Amazon RDS MySQL. The monitoring must include application logs and operating system metrics for the Amazon EC2 instances, database logs and operating system metrics for the Amazon RDS database. Which steps should the engineer take? A. Install an Amazon CloudWatch agent on the EC2 and RDS instances. Configure the agent to send the operating system metrics and application and database logs to CloudWatch. B. Install an Amazon CloudWatch agent on the EC2 instance, and configure the agent to send the application logs and operating system metrics to CloudWatch. Enable RDS Enhanced Monitoring, and modify the RDS instance to publish database logs to CloudWatch logs. C. Install an Amazon CloudWatch Logs agent on the EC2 instance and configure it to send application logs to CloudWatch. D. Set up scheduled tasks on the EC2 and RDS instances to put operating system metrics and application and database logs into an Amazon S3 bucket. Set up an event on the bucket to invoke an AWS Lambda function to monitor for errors each time an object is put into the bucket. Correct answer is B. Next question is: a company mandates the creation of capture logs for everything running in its AWS account. The account has multiple VPCs with Amazon EC2 instances, application load balancers, Amazon RDS MySQL databases, and AWS WAF rules configured. The logs must be protected from deletion. A daily visual analysis of log anomalies from the previous day is required. Which combination of actions should a DevOps engineer take to accomplish this? Choose 3. A. Configure an AWS Lambda function to send all CloudWatch logs to an Amazon S3 bucket. Create a dashboard report in Amazon QuickSight. B. Configure AWS CloudTrail to send all logs to Amazon Inspector. Create a dashboard report in Amazon QuickSight. C. Configure Amazon S3 MFA delete on the logging Amazon S3 bucket. D. Configure an Amazon S3 object lock legal hold on the logging Amazon S3 bucket. E. Configure AWS artifact to send all logs to the logging Amazon S3 bucket. Create a dashboard report in Amazon QuickSight. F. Deploy an Amazon CloudWatch agent to all Amazon EC2 instances. Correct answer is A, D and F.